Hello everyone, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 7-star robbery Xuan Dagua date selection method. Now, I do suggest that you watch the part 1 first, the Xuan Dagua date selection first, because there I give you all the directions and how to use this and so forth, and I'm not going to repeat it here. Now, I said even back then that I was a little bit uncertain about the 7-star robbery, why it's called what it is, because it doesn't seem to take energy like it does through the flying stars. But I'm going to call it that to be consistent. And there is a borrowing of energy, but in a very different form. So I guess it's valid. When I first looked at it, it looked extraordinarily complicated. I thought it was going to take me weeks to understand. It took me a couple hours, and I understood the thing fully. So it's not bad. And it all starts with the understanding of the formation of the 64 hexagram ring, how each of the trigrams are arranged. Now, if you look closely at the 64 hexagram ring, and I do sell one of these, a lot cheaper than you can get in a book, but there are good books out there too. And you can see that every 45-degree sector shares the same lower trigram. That is, an adjacent 45-degree sector in a very specific manner shares the same lower trigram. And the upper trigram follows the same pattern and is a mirror image along the north-south axis, but the one that's on the upmost is the same as the one on the second and the third and the fourth and so forth. So it is the same pattern, and you'll see this in a second. Now this results in a very regular pattern for the Xuan Dagua 7-star robbery linked hexagrams. And so you have a focus hexagram, and then you have a day pillar to use. That's associated with that focus hexagram, just like you did in the other forms of date selection where you use the HER2 or the combo 10 or the combo 5 or 15. Now, the 64 hexagram groups do not line up perfectly either with the early or later heavens Bagua, but the pattern is basically the early heavens Bagua. It's just rotated 45 degrees. So here we have the different groups in blue. Each one of these groups share the same bottom trigram, and which one they share is based on the early heavens Bagua, which this is the early heavens Bagua. So every hexagram here has 3 broken lines as its bottom trigram. Everyone here has solid broken as its bottom or its lower hexagram, and so forth. And on each side, we have, starting from the lower, it goes in this order. And on this side, it's a mirror image. So both of them, in the first subsector, they're both associated with the 3 broken lines, the kun gua. And the name of these, of course, has to do with the gua, the name of the gua. Now, you can also see that when we're looking from the upper and the lower, they are reversed. The yin and yang are reversed. So yang is solid, 3 solid lines. This is 3 broken lines. This is also reversed. 1 broken, 2 solid, 1 solid, 2 broken. So it's, again, they are reversed. Same thing here, and the same thing here. So the way you know which hexagram is there is actually pretty simple. We know what the lower hexagram has to be in all of the Zun group here. And because we're looking at the first one, we know this has to be the upper hexagram. So you end up with this, upper trigram. And so we end up with this as the full hexagram. We can do the same thing up here. It's the first one. And in this case, it'll be this one. And then the Zun has this as its lower trigram. And so together this creates this hexagram. Now, because of the way it's done, you can see that this hexagram and this hexagram also follow that pattern of opposites. That is, every broken line here is a solid line here, and vice versa. And that is true for every single one of the hexagrams in the entire 64 hexagram ring. So you know when you've done it right. If you get one half right, you know you're going to get the other half right as long as you follow these rules. So let's get to the heart of it. So here's the group area, and there are 8 sectors or mini sectors here. And I number these. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one is 8. So it's basically numbered so that when you go in a clockwise direction, you start with 1 and end with 8. And the same will be true on both halves. Now the focus sector is, I start with 1. It's right here. And this is the hexagram that would be associated if your house is within this subsector, this mini sector, you would be using this hexagram as the focus. Or if you had a certain animal sign in your batza. So it depends on what your batza is. And I think these are basically rats. These are all rats. I do have a table that will tell you all this stuff. And it's actually listed by the sector's focus hexagram first. And then it will tell you all 4 types. It'll tell you the herd 2, the combo 10, the combo 5 or 15, and the 7-star robbery. It's all in this one file on the Ko-fi store. I will get it on the PayHip store at some point. The Ko-fi store is actually quite a bit easier to deal with, so that in terms of uploading stuff. So that's why I did that there first. Now this is the second mini sector, and you can see that these overlap. Every mini sector, every group will have one mini sector that has this overlap. And it follows a very distinctive pattern too. But in this case, it's the second mini sector that does. And it's the same hexagram for both the focus hexagram and the day pillar you use are the same. And so if you happen to have if your animal sign, your pillar especially your year pillar, were to fall in this group, and it's probably it's a rat, and it's probably a fire rat, but it might be a wood rat. But anyway, you would just use the same day whenever it falls on the calendar, which will happen once every 60 days. Now we get into, when we go to the third sector, it jumps way over here. And it will make sense in the end. It looks a little crazy, but it'll make sense in the end. This is the 4th one, and it's over here. Here's the 5th one. Here's the 6th one. This is the 7th one, which is now almost impossible to read. And even worse, here's the 8th one. Very hard to read any of this stuff. But it's okay, because I have this all listed for you on this. It's a PDF file. So, although this looks a little insane, these are the different mini sectors where we have the day pillar, which day pillar you would use. And this is for subsector 1, mini sector 1, mini sector 2, mini sector 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is in more detail, so you can actually read, hopefully, some of this at least. And if you look closely, you will notice every one of these hexagrams has the same upper trigram. So This is how it works. Each blue shaded group shares the same lower trigram. For each blue shaded group, the 7-star robbery hexagrams all share the same upper trigram. Now, because they're in different sectors, in different group sectors, they're going to have different bottom trigrams, but they will share the same upper hexagram. So this is the two rules that define the 7-star robbery hexagram. It was surprisingly clear when I just started arranging things. Although nobody ever tells you this, I'm telling you this. So this is what it looks like when you look at the whole 64 hexagram ring. Each one of these will be 8 apart, and this is consistent. And there is a very somewhat strange stepping pattern. Anytime you have one of these the blue group sectors on the east side, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's this zigzaggy pattern that always starts on the opposite side of the north-south axis. And of course, these are mirror images of one another. And so the Xuan group, which is this group here, they all share this hexagram. Each one of these are going to have a different bottom, they share this upper trigram. They're going to have different bottom or lower trigrams, but this one is the only one that shares both the upper trigram and this bottom Xuan groups, lower Xuan groups trigram. So that's just the way it works. And you'll see this pattern repeated. So let's go to the next group. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That same zigzaggy pattern. And the Li group, day pillars, the ones that are associated with, this is the Li group in blue. They all share this upper trigram. This is the Dewey group in blue here. And they all share this upper trigram. And again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's the same zigzaggy up and down pattern. And then finally, the last one of the one on the east side is the Qian group, and it has the same zigzaggy 1 through 8. And they all share this Qian. Also, this is also the Qian trigram, but and once we're done, I'm going to show you the other half, and then you're going to see a real pattern develop between the lower and the upper hexagrams, or the groups and the upper hexagrams. So this is the first one, the Xuan group, on the west half of the compass. Now it has the same thing. You go to the other side and back and forth, but now everything is flipped. Not just on the east-west, it's also flipped from it's not just flipped from the north-south, but it's also the east-west. So remember, we started down with 1 here and 2 here. Well, now it's the opposite side is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So everything is flipped, but it has that same zigzaggy pattern. And all the upper trigrams for all of these green shaded areas have this. This is the Con group. So what's the next sector? They all share this. I think this is also the Con upper trigram. And of course, within this group, they share the same bottom one, but these, other than just this one, they're not going to have the same bottom. So in the end, you're going to have every single hexagram done. I think you can kind of see this. This is the Gun group. And finally, there's the Kun group. And so now we have basically everything has been covered, and it has that back and forth thing. Now, this is the interesting thing. If we look at the east side group, this is the lower trigram in that group, in that blue shaded area. This is the 7-star robbery upper trigram, which will have a different bottom when you're looking at the hexagram. It has this pattern. Now, you can see that this is a mirror image of one another. This is the same. This is the mirror, and this is the same. Now, let's look at the west side. Again, mirror, same, mirror, same. So this is all really, really pattern oriented. This is sort of like, now the early heavens bakwa is supposed to represent perfection. So the 64 hexagram ring and this 7-star robbery date selection is sort of like the perfect date. Everything is very rhythmic, very in the pattern, and very much focused on balance. And so I kind of really like this one. I'm going, you know, maybe there's some real power in this because it is so cool. So let's say a nerd really likes this, and I am a nerd. So just as in part 1, each focus hexagram has an associated day pillar. This day pillar indicates that that is the day, and the day pillar will have, each hexagram has an associated pillar. This is the day you would use to undertake new activity. This is much better for doing something new than it is for manifestation, but you could use it for manifestation if you needed to. It does have a special energy. Now, this is the information that is going to be included, or is actually already on my Ko-fi store and will be on my PayHip store. If nobody has purchased this yet, as far as I know, but if you do happen to purchase one and it does not have the 7-star robbery, send me a proof of purchase, and I will send you the proper file. Because it's up on the store right now, in the coffee store. Now, here you do not need to worry about being out of gua with the focus hexagram, because as long as the focus hexagram is one of your batsa pillars, because it's in your batsa, you are not out of gua automatically. So the out of gua is not so important here. However, you can be out of gua with your house facing. And actually, if your house is not facing in a good direction for you, it's good to be out of gua, because then any kind of negative thing doesn't really affect you. But as long as you have a couple good things, even if you're not out of gua and your house isn't facing a good direction for you, as long as, let's say, your main door and your sleeping position are in good directions, and maybe your work position too, you're good. So you don't need to be freaked out about out of gua. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I have, again, some information about where my PayHip and my coffee stores are. Thank you again for watching.